Welcome to the deep dive. Ever wonder how the global economy, well, how it really took shape? Especially that period between, say, 1750 and 1900.
It's a pivotal time.
Definitely. Today we're diving into something called economic imperialism. Basically, it's how countries extended their influence, maybe not always with armies, but often through economic leverage. Smart moves, sometimes questionable ones.
Or downright exploitative ones,
Yeah.
often.
Right. So if you've been looking for a way to quickly get your head around the big economic shifts in Asia and Latin America back then, well, you're in the right place.
We've looked at historical analyses, specific trade examples, commodity markets, trying to piece together a clear picture.
So this is our deep dive mission. Explore how industrialized nations and their businesses use that economic muscle.
Exactly. We're looking at concrete cases, how certain goods were traded, where investments flowed, and crucially, the impact on the ground. It's about those strings of influence, beyond just political flags on maps.
Okay, let's get into it. And where better to start than China, the Opium Wars. Such a dramatic story.
Absolutely. China, the historical Middle Kingdom, this major power.
For centuries, yeah.
But they didn't industrialize like Britain or Europe did in the 18th, 19th centuries. And that changed things. It left them vulnerable.
And the initial trade situation's fascinating, isn't it? Britain wanted so much Chinese stuff, silk, porcelain, tea, especially tea.
Obsessed with tea.
Yeah.
But China, they weren't really buying much British stuff in return.
Which led to this big trade imbalance. All Britain's silver was just flowing into China.
A serious economic problem for the British government. A real headache.
So Britain needed a solution. And the one they found was, well, it's opium.
Grown in British India, then smuggled into China.
Illegally.
And opium is it's devastatingly addictive, a life ruiner, but purely from a cold economic view.
It worked. It reversed that flow of silver. Addiction spread, and silver started flowing out of China and back to Britain.
Which brings up the huge human cost, obviously. The Qing dynasty saw this happening, the addiction, the social problems, and they were horrified. Understandably, they banned it, confiscated British opium shipments down in Canton, destroyed them.
And that action, that defiance, led directly to the First Opium War. Britain brought its industrialized military power to bear.
And it was, unfortunately, a stark demonstration of that power gap. China was defeated.
Humiliated, really. Forced into signing the Treaty of Nanjing. And this is key, right? The treaty wasn't just peace.
Not at all. It forced China to open new ports specifically for British trade. It granted Britain significant economic privileges inside China.
So it fundamentally changed the game. It wasn't just about stopping the war. It was about securing economic dominance, weaponizing trade, essentially.
And setting a precedent. This treaty was a huge blow to China's economic sovereignty. But they had other problems too, didn't they?
Oh, definitely. Internally, the Qing dynasty was weakening. The Taiping Rebellion mid-century, that was enormous.
Massive conflict. Religious movement, ethnic tensions between Hans and the Manchu rulers. Lasted about 15 years.
The death toll estimates are just staggering, maybe 20, even 30 million people, plus the financial cost.
Right, so dealing with this massive internal crisis, the Qing government wasn't exactly in a strong position to, modernize or fend off more foreign pressure.
Perfect timing for Britain and France this time. They saw an opportunity in that weakness.
Which led to the Second Opium War. Another defeat for China. More unequal treaties.
Even more ports opened up. It just kept escalating. A downward spiral for Chinese control.
And this is where we really see the concept of spheres of influence taking shape in China.
Explain that a bit more. It wasn't direct colonization, was it?
No, not like, say, India. It was more subtle. Specific regions where a particular foreign power, Britain, France, Russia, later Japan, held dominant economic rights.
So they controlled trade, investment, maybe key industries in that zone.
Exactly. They called the shots economically, influencing local affairs to protect their interests, all without the hassle of direct rule. China remained nominally independent, but its economy was increasingly tied to and serving these foreign powers.
A really clear example of economic control without formal empire building. Okay, let's shift gears. Move across the world to Latin America. Argentina offers a different kind of example, doesn't it? More about investment.
Yes, British investment was huge in Argentina, particularly in infrastructure.
Railways, I assume.
Railways, definitely, and also upgrading the port, Buenos Aires, making it a modern trading hub. British banks, British companies poured money in.
And the goal behind this investment was?
Pretty straightforward. Get raw materials out of Argentina and back to British factories more easily. Think wool, beef, grain.
Makes perfect sense for industrial Britain. They needed those inputs.
And by building the infrastructure, the railways connecting the interior to the port itself being efficient and, geographically well-placed for shipping to Britain, they effectively wired Argentina's economy into their own.
Creating dependency. Argentina needed that investment, needed those export markets Britain provided, because its whole modern infrastructure was built for that relationship.
Precisely. It shows how strategic investment can lock in economic relationships, sometimes just as effectively as military force. The flow of capital and goods creates its own momentum, its own form of control.
Okay, we've mentioned raw materials, trade goods.
Yep.
Let's talk about commodities. The sources define it simply as any good bought and sold.
Right. And the trade in specific commodities during this era was absolutely central to economic imperialism.
We've already hit opium pretty hard. Moving from the Middle East, South Asia, into China, we saw the dependency, the social chaos, the wars it triggered.
All solidifying imperial control, yeah.
Yeah.
But think about cotton, too.
From where, mainly? India?
India, yes, South Asia more broadly, and Egypt became huge cotton producers, all feeding the textile mills in Britain and Europe.
And the issue there was?
Well, turning these places into cash crop economies. They became incredibly dependent on the demand from industrialized nations. If cotton prices fell, their economies could be devastated.
So less diverse, more vulnerable, often replacing food crops too, I imagine.
Often, yes. It reshaped agriculture and made them reliant on external markets, external prices.
Mhm.
Then there's palm oil,
From Africa.
sub-Saharan Africa, yeah. It became essential for industrial lubricants, soaps, other things in Europe.
And did colonial powers actively push its production?
Absolutely. They restructured local economies specifically for palm oil extraction, changed land ownership, labor systems, everything geared towards getting that oil out and onto European ships.
One more key example.
Copper from Chile, hugely important for industrialization, electrical wiring, machinery in the U.S. and Europe.
And the dynamic there, was it Chilean companies digging it up?
Mostly foreign companies, actually. U.S., British firms dominated the mining sector.
Yep.
So Chile had the resource, but a lot of the control and the profits stayed outside the country. Its economy got shaped around feeding that external demand for copper.
Okay, so pulling these threads together, it seems clear that economic imperialism, working through these different mechanisms, trade imbalances like with opium, infrastructure investment like in Argentina, controlling key commodity markets, it really shaped the global economy between 1750 and 1900.
Profoundly. And often, as you said, tilted heavily against the interest of the less industrialized nations. It wasn't just about free trade. It was about power dynamics.
The opium wars, the British railways in Argentina, they really drive home how economic control could be exerted in ways that weren't just about planting flags. It was more complex.
Definitely. These historical examples show the different faces of economic influence, operating alongside or even instead of direct political rule. And the effects were long-lasting.
Which really makes you think, doesn't it, about the legacies? Could the global trade patterns, the dependencies we still see in some ways today,
Right.
could they have roots stretching back to this period?
It's a very relevant question. These historical relationships cast long shadows.
Absolutely. So here's something to mull over after this deep dive. How do these historical examples of economic power plays compare to, say, modern global economic interactions? Are there echoes, differences? It's certainly food for thought. Thanks for joining us.